Welcome back and thanks for watching. Today we are going to make Mexican stuffed bell peppers with quinoa and black beans. And I want to thank Mike and his daughter Katie for requesting a stuffed bell pepper recipe on YouTube. So I hope you guys like this recipe. So to get started, now we're going to be using quinoa. If you don't like quinoa, or if you'd rather use brown rice, that's totally fine. Just substitute 2 cups of brown rice, or to make things even quicker, you can use something like these pre-cooked seeds of change packages where they're all ready to go. They're already cooked, so just 2 cups of that. But we're going to use quinoa. I love quinoa. It's super fluffy and light and has a great nutty flavor, not to mention the complete proteins that it has in it. So let's get started. What you want to do first is get your oven heating to 400 degrees and then cook your quinoa. All you need is 1/2 cup of quinoa for this whole recipe. 1/2 cup quinoa in the standard, double amount of water. So 1 cup of water. Cook it per your package directions. Usually takes about 15 minutes. So you're going to get that started. And I always recommend, even if your quinoa package says that it's pre-rinsed, I always rinse it again just to make sure that it has that natural chemical off of it that gives it a slightly bitter taste. And make sure you're using a fine mesh strainer so that it doesn't fall right through. You're going to need this to rinse your black beans anyway, so go ahead and don't skip that step. So we've got our oven heating, the quinoa is cooking. And what we're going to do, and what I like to do, and that makes the whole process a little bit faster, sometimes stuffed bell peppers can take a long time to bake, but if you pre-cook your bell pepper shells before putting the stuffing in, the whole process goes a lot faster. So this recipe will stuff 4 whole bell peppers or 8 halves. I like to cut them in half. I think they're easier to eat. They take a little bit less time to cook, but you can just chop the tops off and do them whole if you want to. Personally, I like using red bell peppers. I think they taste better. They're very sweet. And if you don't know, bell peppers are all the same. They're just a different degree of ripeness. The green ones are the least ripe, and then as they ripen, they change from green to yellow to orange to red. And that's why red ones are generally more expensive in the stores, because they've taken longer to ripen, require more in-ground time. And because they've been on the vine longer, it's also the reason that they are more nutritious. They actually have 11 times more beta carotene than the green ones, and 1.5 times more vitamin C. So 1 medium red bell pepper has 169% of the daily recommended amount of vitamin C. It also has a lot of other vitamins and minerals, one being folate, so it's really great if you're pregnant. So they're really packed with a lot of nutrition and vitamins. So I go with the red. And the way I want to prepare them is with a little smaller knife, I'm going to cut the top out, pop that out. And then take a minute to figure out if it will lay flat on 2 sides so that you're cutting it so that it won't rock around. So this one has a nice 4 sides to it, so this will be an easy one. If you get one that doesn't, what you can sometimes do is just with your knife, just shave just a teeny bit off like that to make it flat, and it'll make it stand up straight, just a little trick. And then with your knife, just clean out the membranes and then rinse out the seeds. So that's what they'll look like when they're all cleaned out. Now I've got a baking sheet. I've spread just a teeny bit of oil on it. I'm going to put these cut side down just in the oil. Now these are going to cook in our 400 degrees oven for 15 minutes. So while our bell pepper shells are cooking, we're going to make our stuffing. And our quinoa is done and ready, so we'll add that in a minute. So what we have is just 1 can of black beans, rinsed and drained and rinsed. And then you're going to want to get a 1/2 cup measuring cup, because we're going to use this a lot, including when we're stuffing the bell peppers. So just have that on hand. 1/2 cup of finely diced onion, 1/2 cup of corn, and I just use frozen corn thawed, and then 1 can of diced green chilies, drained And then I like to chop them a little bit finer than they come. You don't have to. You can use it drained and right out of the can. But 4-ounce can of diced green chilies. And for the seasonings, we've got 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of cumin. Some people might think that's a lot of cumin, but when you consider that it's divided up over the 8 halves, it's only 1/8 of a teaspoon each. And then a good sprinkle of salt and pepper. And now I'm going to get my quinoa, my 2 cups of quinoa, and add that to it. And that's all there is to the filling. So I'm going to mix this up really well, and then what we're going to do in a medium pan and just a little bit of oil, I'm going to saute all of this for 3 minutes, just long enough to sort of heat it all through, get the onions just softened just a little bit, and then we'll be ready to stuff our peppers. They should be done and out of the oven by then. So I've sauteed all of the stuffing ingredients for 3 minutes, put it back in the same bowl. The recipe needs 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, kind of packed down a little bit, get your money's worth. And I'm going to take 1 cup of that, just approximately. Mix that all in, and then I'm going to use the other remaining amount to sprinkle on top for the last 5 minutes of our baking. So mix this in, get this all ready. Our bell pepper shells are almost ready, so we'll be ready to stuff in just a second here. Okay, so our bell pepper shells have been cooking for 15 minutes. They're soft, but not quite done, so it's going to be perfect. I'm just going to flip them over with tongs. They're very hot, obviously. Turn your oven down at this point to 375. So from 400 to 375. So the easiest thing to do is to use a 1/2 cup measuring cup, because that is what works out about evenly among 8, just to evenly distribute it. So using a 1/2 cup and being careful, obviously, because it's hot, just dump a 1/2 cup in each one. So you see that works out perfectly, 1/2 cup each. Just sort of make it pretty, pat them in a little bit, get them in there. Okay, now we're gonna put them back in the oven at 375 for 10 minutes. I'm gonna pull them out, just pull them out a little bit from the oven, sprinkle them with the remaining cheese, and then they're gonna cook for 5 more minutes to melt the cheese, and then they're done. Perfect. And they smell really good. I'm going to let it cool for just a second before I taste it. But these are really great served, 2 as a main dish with a nice green salad, or maybe some crusty bread would be really good. And if you want to change and tweak the recipe a little bit, some suggestions might be you can crunch up some tortilla chips and put those on top when we do the last 5 minutes with the cheese to give it a nice little crunch. You could add cilantro, maybe some chipotle peppers, diced jalapenos. Those are ideas if you like it a little bit more spicy. This is pretty mild, so it'll be good for everybody. So let me just take one and give it a try. So the bell pepper is really soft, but still has a little bit of texture to it, so it's perfect. Yep, it's good. I think you'll like it. I hope you'll give it a try. If you like our recipes, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, to download the recipe, you can go to our website, noboneslife.com. There's a link to it down in the description if you're not already on the website. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.